Welcome back. In the last episode, we explored how Britain began its journey from trade to power. Now, the real struggle begins. As rival empires clash and ambitions grow, the fight for dominance in India is about to take a dramatic turn. During this internal turmoil, the English East India Company officials, feeling the need to protect themselves, formed their own military units composed of trained Indian soldiers. This situation brought the British into conflict with the French, who were trying to establish a strong India-based company. However, the rivalry between France and England was not limited to India. Their colonies in North America were also disputed in terms of borders. Although England was transferring people to its North American colonies due to the increasing population on the mainland, eventually even its existing colonies became insufficient. For this reason, expanding their territories further into the interior of North America caused French and British armies to come into conflict. In 1755, the British Army, commanded by General Boscawen, completely destroyed a French detachment in the Ohio Valley. This event triggered the outbreak of the 7 Years' War between France and England, which later involved Prussia, Austria, and Russia as well. Austria, allying with Russia and Sweden, formed a coalition against Prussia, while England allied with Prussia against France. The British first took Ohio in 1757, Quebec in 1759, and Montreal in 1760 from the French, gaining supremacy in North America. Then, in 1763, they invaded Bengal, which was under French control, completely ending the French presence in the Indian subcontinent. With the Treaty of Paris signed between England and France on February 10, 1763, the French ceded all their colonies in North America and India to England, doubling the British colonial territories in America. However, when England tried to cover the economic losses incurred during the 7 Years' War by imposing additional taxes on its North American colonies, the colonies united in rebellion, leading to the American War of Independence. In 1774, an American Congress was held, including figures like George Washington and Benjamin Franklin, where the colonies decided that taxes could only be levied through laws they themselves enacted. The American War of Independence, which began in 1775, ended with the defeat of the British in 1783. With the Treaty of Paris signed on September 3, 1783, the independence of the United States was officially recognized, and the British lost all their colonies except Canada. Fortunately, the pioneering British in colonialism quickly found new territories to replace the lost ones. In 1784, the British set foot in Africa and established their first colony on the continent in Gambia. Moreover, the eastern coast of Australia, discovered by the British sailor James Cook in 1790, was quickly colonized by the British. Thus, England became a massive empire ruling over 5 continents. During the Coalition Wars in 1793, the British seized Trinidad and Tobago from the French, Guyana from the Dutch, and Sri Lanka. Additionally, taking advantage of the Mughal Empire seeking their help during internal turmoil, the British expanded in India, controlling half of the territory using the army established by the East India Company. After India, the East India Company also began operating in China, where it had been trading opium since the 1730s. However, in 1839, when China banned the opium trade, the first opium war broke out between Europe and China. The most profitable party in this war was once again the East India Company, which occupied and gained control of Hong Kong, China's wealthy trading hub. Although the East India Company was responsible for England's activities in Asia, from the late 18th century onward, certain regulations were introduced regarding the company. Specifically, laws such as the 1813 Charter Act were enacted, establishing British royal authority over the territories controlled by the company. In 1857, a rebellion by Indian soldiers loyal to the British spread throughout India, and the company's existence was terminated by the Crown, bringing all of India, Burma, and Malaysia under British administration. As soon as the British government took control over India, it began governing the region through a Governor-General appointed by the government, while Queen Victoria was crowned as the Empress of India. Meanwhile, by 1850, the British had incorporated the entire island of Australia into their territories. They also made another expedition to Africa, colonizing South Africa, Sierra Leone, and Ghana. Turning to the Americas, the British expanded their North American territories, controlling all lands east of Alaska and north of the United States. They also colonized Jamaica and Belize, ensuring the British flag was planted in Central America as well. By 1869, the opening of the Suez Canal in Egypt, crucial for maritime transport, accelerated British activities in Africa. Although the British initially opposed the construction of the Suez Canal, they realized its strategic value when they saw the profits it generated. In 1875, the British government purchased the 44% share of the Suez Canal from Egypt's ruler, Khedive Ismail Pasha, for £4 million. This immediately made the British a dominant force in the region. While these developments occurred in Africa, in Europe, the outbreak of the Russo-Turkish War in 1877 became a matter of close concern for Britain. After the Ottoman Empire lost this war, known as the 93 War, Sultan Abdulhamid ceded Cyprus to British protection on the condition of support against Russia. In fact, this situation had been planned by the British. Turning Cyprus into a base, the British sent troops to North Africa in 1882 and fully occupied Egypt. This allowed the British to advance into the interior of Africa and easily reach the Middle Eastern territories they coveted. Although the initial reason for Britain's focus on Africa was the Suez Canal, later economic factors, such as cheap labor, gold, and precious stones obtained by the French from Africa, also came into play. Until World War I, the British continued to expand in Africa, acquiring many new colonies from Sudan to East Africa, from Somalia to Rhodesia, and from Nigeria to Togo. They also extended their reach to the Arabian Peninsula, incorporating the region referred to as the Truce States into their colonial territories. When World War I broke out, the majority of the soldiers forming the British Army came from the local populations of the British colonies, constituting a land force of approximately 3 million people. During the height of the war, the French and the British secretly made an agreement to divide the Middle Eastern territories that would be acquired from the Ottoman Empire between themselves. This agreement came into effect in 1918 after the war ended in victory, and England added regions with significant oil reserves such as Palestine, Jordan, and Iraq to its colonial kingdom territories. Thus, the British Empire reached its largest territorial extent in history in 1918. In the post-World War I period, Britain reorganized its colony in North America, Canada, first dividing the country into a government consisting of 4 federations. Then, in 1926, by uniting these 4 federations, Britain officially recognized Canada's independence. Thus, after nearly 4 centuries, the British left their colonial territories in North America. By 1939, World War II began with the German invasion of Poland, continuing as France and England declared war on Germany. After Germany occupied France in 1940, and until the Soviet Union entered the war, England fought alone against Nazi Germany. Although England was on the winning side after the nearly 6-year-long World War II, the Sun-Never-Set's empire had lost its superpower status. Defeat in some naval battles against Japan and the loss of Singapore demonstrated that England was no longer as powerful as it once had been. Following the war, independence uprisings in the colonies, combined with England emerging from the war with severe economic damage, threatened disaster for the empire. Therefore, British leader Churchill announced that Britain would peacefully relinquish its colonies as long as strong governments were established. The first country to gain independence under this policy was India, which had long been the jewel of the empire. India and Pakistan declared their independence from Britain in 1947, becoming 2 separate states. A year later, in 1948, Britain announced its withdrawal from Jordan and Palestine. In the same year, Sri Lanka also gained independence. After this, like falling dominoes, the following countries gained independence: Burma in 1949, Sudan in 1956, Ghana in 1957, Cyprus and Nigeria in 1960, Jamaica, Uganda, Trinidad and Tobago in 1962, Malaysia, Tanzania, and Kenya in 1963, Zambia in 1964, Guyana, Barbados, and Rhodesia in 1966, Yemen in 1967, Lesotho and Swaziland in 1968, Bahrain and Qatar in 1971, the Bahamas and Belize in 1973, and Brunei in 1984. The last colony to leave the empire was Hong Kong. With a population of 3 million and a wealthy trading city, Hong Kong returned to China in 1997, marking the end of the British colonial empire in the pages of history. Do you think the countries that gained independence truly established stable governments? Or are the nations that accepted independence really independent today?